once more, good morning and welcome to the media briefing on the review of the 2020-2021 federal budget estimates and the presentation of the line items that we consider frivolous, inappropriate, unclear, and wasteful. As you can see, there are two publications here which we took time since the budget was presented to prepare. We could have come out immediately to make a statement on the budget, but we normally want to do an in-depth work that we can fall back on at any time. If anybody challenges any of the things we say here, then we can justify what we did. So we have to do some research before coming up with this. The two presentations are quite detailed, but I'm not going to start reading the documentation. I will just look at the highlights, particularly the key issues and the recommendations coming out from the budget. Well, we noticed that we have a lot of challenges in revenue, and that's why when we started with our recommendations, we looked at the revenue issues. It's not just enough to talk about increasing expenditure. You can only increase expenditure if you have the resources to do so. And we've been told that we are challenged at the federal and state levels with diminishing revenue, particularly since the collapse of oil prices. So the first thing we talked about here is the proposal for signature bonus in 2021, which is the expected sum is 677 billion. And we are saying that for us to realize it, we should introduce greater transparency and accountability into the licensing rounds and processes. We are demanding that there should be a publication of overall rules for the various license award process, including the timelines and application requirements, and clear technical and financial criteria against which companies are being assessed, and the information about appeal processes, as well as ensuring beneficial ownership information is disclosed to Nigerians. We are looking at the full and meticulous implementation of the rules requiring automatic deduction as source of past due operating surplus remittance by government-owned enterprises, capping cost to revenue ratio of GOEs to a maximum of between 60 and 70%, because this is what the federal government said it will start doing. Because if you read the audit reports of previous years, particularly 2014 to 2017, a lot of operating surplus that should be due to the federal government has not been remitted. So the federal government is saying that they will now begin to deduct this money from source. And we are also saying for future purposes, we can have sub-accounts of the TSA for each of the agencies, and from there, you deduct the money as source. When these monies are raised, you don't have to wait for them until the end of the year. You simply aggregate the money in that TSA account. Federal government takes the one that belongs to it and transfers the remaining to the various agencies. So we need to make sure that operating surpluses are duly remitted, and those who are owing the federal government, that the backlog is collected. Then something funny is happening, because since last year up till now, the budget implementation report from January to August did not tell us what has happened to revenue from stamp duties. It simply stated that it has not been brought into the fiscal account. We can't continue having revenue which hasn't been brought into the fiscal account for years, when we are busy looking for money and we're even intending to borrow. Then the issue of including the LNG dividend as a source of revenue. We are saying that to the extent that we are not sure that money is coming from that source, we should not include it as a source of revenue. It's only when it has come in that we should include it, because we may be banking on the money and it will never come in. So if it comes in the middle of the year, we can have a supplementary budget to spend it, but banking on it at a time we are not sure is not a good practice in budgeting. Then the issue of recoveries and fines, the same arguments applies to it, because we always hear EFCC and all these agencies talk a lot about what they've recovered. But if you go to the budget column of revenue expected from them, it's usually blank. So let's wait for them to recover these monies and the fines before we begin to bank on them for budgeting. Of course, the petroleum industry bill has been a recurring decimal. Each government comes to say we will pass it. We've lost a lot in terms of monies that we have accrued from the review of the fiscal earnings of government from the oil and gas sector because we have failed to put in place the EIB. And we are doing as if to say the whole world is waiting for us. Each time I hear them saying that, oh, wait a minute, we'll take our time to pass it, it appears that they are not even listening to the news of what is happening in other parts of the world. The Brits said that they were going to phase out all these cars that are powered by diesel and petrol in 2035. But from the reliable information coming, the Prime Minister is even trying to bring it down to 2030. So we really don't have enough time for us to be thinking we're going to get a lot from petroleum. So the area we pass this PIB, the better. Then we also call for the review of tax expenditures. Now, what do we mean by tax expenditures? It's all these waivers, grants, and concessions that government gives to businesses. Government spends in two ways: either they appropriate money and say, oh, they are going to give it to Victor Sinabensin and Radio Nigeria, or they can decide to give a special concession if there are levies or dues or import bills that other companies are paying. They say, okay, Radio Nigeria, you will not pay it. So we have a situation where we have given out a lot. But in giving out this, it's expected that these companies will employ more Nigerians, and in course of time, when they move away from those concessions, they will begin to pay more tax to the federal government. But if we have been doing this for the past 15, 20 years, the economy, instead of expanding, is shrinking, the tax revenue is not increasing, unemployment is increasing. That means we are not realizing the benefits. And if you go to page 8, XIII, you see where we gave away tax expenditure of CIT, companies income tax of 1.18 trillion, VAT is valued at 3.1 trillion, customs duties is valued at 347 billion, and VAT on imports at 64 billion, bringing the total to 4.691 trillion. 4.691 trillion. So if you are incurring deficits, okay, and proposing to borrow more than 4.2 trillion, there's no reason why we should be giving away this money. So it's imperative that the National Assembly and the Federal Ministry of Finance and the President sit down and review these things, those ones that can be reviewed in the Finance Act of 2021. Then we moved on to debts and borrowing. Of course, we noticed that we are borrowing a lot, of which we are not even, don't have the capacity again to repay. Between January and August, the federal government raised a total of 2.52 trillion, and out of that 2.52 trillion, we used 2.137 trillion to pay back debt. So when we did that, we were left with about 385 billion as all the money we raised, properly so called, after servicing debts. So 387 billion was what was outstanding to pay salaries, to draw down overheads, and to do capital expenditure. So any money over and above that 385 or 387 billion was actually borrowed money, or money that we took from CBN, through seniorage or ways and means, or just general deficit financing. So we are saying we need to cut it down. And how do we cut it down? We need to do more public-private partnerships through the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, through MDAs, preparing proper business proposals so that these things can be funded beyond the treasury. We need to establish special purpose vehicles to aggregate resources from a plethora of sources, including institutional and retail investors, to fund priority capital projects. And then we are stating that the federal government should stop disobeying court orders. They should prepare the consolidated debt limits of the 3 tiers of government in accordance with Section 42 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, mandating these limits, as well as in obedience to the unappealed judgment of the Federal High Court in Center for Social Justice versus the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and 4 others. And if they do this, they should consider a moratorium to stop borrowing for new projects and concentrate on seeing what we can raise locally, since we do not have the capacity to service these debts. Then on process and structure issues, we are calling for the amendment of Section 81 of the Constitution to fix a definite time frame and timeline for the President and Governors to present the budget estimates to the State House of Assembly or National Assembly. And we are suggesting first week of September, while the legislature should continue the approval process not later than the second week of December. The fact that the President brought this budget early to the National Assembly is not a product of the fact that he's under legal compulsion to do it. It's just his goodwill. So he could as well present it in December. Let's have the law say, present this budget first week of September. National Assembly, by the second week of December, you must have concluded your job and brought back for the President for his assent, so that we have these structural issues fixed once and for all. We also need new budget preparation templates. It's not just because Ministry A wants uniform. Therefore, Ministry B that has nothing to do uniforms must also apply for uniform. These templates must be specific to each agency. Then, we're also calling on NAS to ensure that the executive gives them the results of an evaluation of the programs that they did in 2020 and 2019 as a basis for the appropriation of new money. You can't continue spending without telling Nigerians what you achieved from previous expenditure. Now, something also is happening. There is a Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. That ministry is too big and too unwieldy to be combined into one. First, you need a superhuman to be able to run this ministry, to combine these competencies. And the competencies are different. While the Ministry of National Planning is futuristic, is looking at planning for the future. Where will Nigeria be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And strategizing on how to make that happen. Finance is about now and now. The Treasury. How do we fund the budget because we don't have the revenue? How do we turn the deficit? So there is this short-termism in finance which is being pitched against the long-term horizon and vision of national planning. So the two cannot go together. They should be separated. That's how we complained earlier about the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing until it was separated. And even today we are still insisting that Works and Housing should also be separated, because these are key strategic investment outlays for the federal government. You can't combine. So continuing to combine finance, national planning and budget doesn't make sense. They should be separated. Finance on one side, budget and national planning on the other side. We are also insisting that all statutory transfers, not just the money going to the National Assembly, including the National Judicial Council, National Human Rights Commission, Public Complaints Commission, Independent National Electoral Commission, Niger Delta Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission, and Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, they should all be disaggregated. The government cannot continue to disobey court orders. This was also in accordance with the unappealed decision of the Federal High Court in Center for Social Justice versus Honorable Minister of Finance in suit of 2013. And also all those sums under the Sustainable Development Goals in service-wide votes, the details should also be disaggregated and provided. Of course, we are saying reduce these lump sums you are putting in service-wide votes. Service-wide votes shouldn't be more than 5% of the overall budget. You don't pack in more than 10, 15, 20% of the overall budget, lump sums that nobody knows what they are going to be used. And this has been the practice since Obasanjo's days. You have lump sums, SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 3, everything totaling 100 or 150 billion. Tell me what is the result of those expenditure in the last 20 years. So we can't continue in that way that is not leading us to achieve any results. We must begin to disaggregate them so that Nigerians know what they're going to be used for and put them in the ministries, because this is just like a centralized pot. If you, instead of putting money for sports competitions under service-wide votes, give it to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Instead of saying SDG 1, if that SDG is focused on health, give it to the Ministry of Health. If focused on food, give it to the Ministry of Agriculture, instead of making it a slush fund which nobody cares so much about.